You sell your family home and walk away with $650,000 in your pocket. Within 12 months, your age pension is gone, not reduced. Gone. And the part that really stings? It didn't have to happen that way. That's the situation Paul's neighbour found himself in last year, and it's more common than Centrelink would ever advertise. G'day, I'm Paul, and if you're on the age pension or getting close to it, this next few minutes could be the most important thing you watch before you sign any paperwork. We're going to walk through exactly what happens to your pension the moment your family home turns into cash, why it can become a permanent problem rather than a short-term blip, and what you can do to make sure you're not blindsided. Let's start with the rule that most people already know, because it's the one that creates the false confidence. Your family home is exempt. Centrelink does not count it as an asset when they're working out your age pension. Doesn't matter if it's worth $400,000 or $1.4 million. While you're living in it and it's your principal residence, it sits completely outside the assets test. That protection is real, and for millions of Australians, it's the reason they qualify for a pension at all. But here's where the rule changes on you. The moment you sell, that exemption disappears. The home doesn't exist anymore. What exists instead is a pile of cash sitting in your bank account, and cash is absolutely 100% counted as an assessable asset under the assets test. Same value, completely different treatment. The house was invisible to Centrelink, the cash from the house is not. Now this is where it gets critical, and it's the part most people don't fully understand until it's too late. There's a window. Centrelink gives you up to 12 months from the date of sale to use those proceeds to buy, build, or renovate another home you intend to live in. During that window, provided you've told Centrelink about the sale and your intention to purchase again, the proceeds are still treated as exempt. That breathing room exists precisely because Centrelink understands people need time to find somewhere new to live. But if that 12 months passes and you haven't purchased another principal residence, those proceeds become fully assessable. No extension, no grace, no assumption that you're still looking. The clock ran out, and now the assets test applies in full. Let's put some real numbers on that. Say you sell your home for $650,000. You're single, you're renting while you look for something new, and your other assets, savings, super, the car, come to around $80,000. Total assessable assets before the sale proceeds kick in. $80,000. Comfortably inside the threshold for a single non-homeowner, which sits around $612,500 in 2025. Pension intact. Now add those $650,000 proceeds once the exemption expires. Total assessable assets, $730,000. That's over the threshold. Pension cancelled. Same person, same sale. The only variable was time. This is why we call it a permanent problem rather than a short-term hiccup. If you don't buy another home, those proceeds don't just temporarily affect your pension while you sort yourself out. They sit there as assessable cash, and as long as they sit there, your pension calculation is affected. There's no automatic reset button. The pension doesn't bounce back the moment you feel settled. It bounces back when your assessable assets drop below the threshold, and if you're renting and sitting on $650,000, that threshold is a long way off. Which brings us to the myth I want to squash right now, because it's one of the most expensive misconceptions I hear. The thinking goes, it came from my home, so Centrelink won't really count it the same way. Maybe they'll be lenient. Maybe there's a special rule for home sale money. There isn't. Once that exemption window closes, Centrelink doesn't care where the money came from. Sale proceeds, inheritance, lottery win, it's all assessed the same way under the assets test. The source of the money is irrelevant. What matters is where it is now and what it's worth now. There's a second trigger point people overlook entirely, and it's the one that catches people who are trying to do the right thing. Say you sell your home and you do buy somewhere new, but the new place costs less than what you sold for. The leftover amount, what you didn't put back into a principal residence, becomes assessable from the day you settle on the new property, not from the end of the 12 months, from settlement day. So if you sold for $650,000, bought a smaller place for $400,000, and kept $250,000 in savings, that $250,000 is now in the assets test, and your pension position changes the moment the keys change hands. Now, here's the reassurance I want to leave you with before we go any deeper. None of this is unsolvable. People navigate this every single day without losing a cent of pension, because they understand the rules before they sign the contract, not after. Timing matters enormously. What you do with the proceeds in the window matters enormously. And there are legitimate, straightforward options for structuring things so that the money ends up somewhere. Centrelink treats differently to a plain bank account. The key is knowing the rules before the sale goes through, not 6 months after, when you're already in a rental, wondering why your pension payment has dropped. Just before we go further, a quick note. Everything we're covering here is general information only, not personal financial advice. Your situation is your situation, and before you make any decisions about selling your home, it's worth getting advice specific to your circumstances from a qualified financial advisor or Centrelink's own financial information service, which is free. Right, let's talk about the moves that actually protect you. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 71, single, and she just sold the family home in Adelaide for $680,000. She's planning to downsize into a unit, but she wants to take her time and find the right place. Her other assets, a bit of super, a car, some savings, come to $95,000. She tells herself she's got 12 months, so there's no rush. She doesn't contact Centrelink straight away because she figures she'll sort it all out once she's settled. Here's what happens to Margaret's pension. In the first month after settlement, Centrelink receives the notification from the title office. They write to Margaret. She doesn't action it immediately because she's in the middle of moving and it feels like paperwork that can wait. 6 months pass. She's found a unit she likes, but negotiations fell through. 7 months in, she's looking again. Month 10, she puts in an offer. It gets accepted. Settlement on the new place is set for month 14. That's 2 months past the exemption window, which means from month 12 onwards, all $680,000 in sale proceeds are fully assessable. Add that to her $95,000 in other assets, and Margaret is sitting on $775,000 of assessable assets as a non-homeowner. The threshold for a single non-homeowner in 2025 is around $612,500. Margaret is over by more than $160,000. Her pension is cancelled, and it doesn't come back until she settles on the new property and her assessable assets drop back below the threshold. That's 2 months of cancelled pension for a problem she didn't know was coming. And here's the part that really stings. If Margaret had settled on the new unit just 8 weeks earlier, the proceeds would have remained exempt throughout. Same house sold, same money, same woman, 8 weeks earlier, and the pension never skips a beat. So what do people actually get wrong? Because Margaret is not unusual. She made 3 mistakes that I hear about constantly, and they're all completely avoidable. Mistake 1. Assuming the 12 months starts when you feel ready, not when settlement occurs. The clock starts on the day your old home settles, not when you start looking for a new one, not when you sign with the real estate agent. Settlement day. Write that date down and count forward. Mistake 2. Not notifying Centrelink promptly. You are required to tell Centrelink about the sale within 14 days of settlement. People put this off because it feels like inviting scrutiny, but not telling them doesn't pause the clock. It just means they catch up with you later, usually with an overpayment notice attached. Mistake 3. Assuming the leftover money is somehow still protected once you buy somewhere cheaper. As we covered, the moment you settle on the new property, the portion you didn't put back into a principal residence becomes assessable immediately. Margaret, in a slightly different version of her story, who buys a 430,000 unit and keeps 250,000 in cash, has a 250,000 assessable asset from the day of settlement on the new place, not 12 months later. That day. Right. Now let's fix all of this with 3 steps that apply, whether you've already sold, you're about to sell, or you're still weighing it up. Step 1. Get your 3 numbers before anything else moves. The date of settlement on the current home, because that starts the clock. Your total assessable assets excluding the home, because that tells you where you stand before the proceeds land. And the current assets test threshold for your situation. Homeowner or non-homeowner. Single or couple. Because that's the line you're working around. Those 3 numbers tell you exactly how much room you have and how fast you need to move. Step 2. Contact Centrelink before you spend or invest a single dollar of the proceeds. Phone the age pension line or book an appointment with the Financial Information Service, which is free and genuinely useful. Tell them about the sale, confirm the exemption period applies to your situation, and ask them to note your intention to purchase again. This isn't just good admin, it's the step that protects the exemption while you look. Getting this on record matters. Step 3. If you're keeping any proceeds outside a new principal residence, understand what Centrelink counts and what it doesn't before you park the money anywhere. Certain financial products are assessed differently to a plain savings account. A financial advisor who works with retirees can walk you through those options. This is where general information stops and personal advice starts, and it's genuinely worth the conversation before you act. Now, I want to be straightforward with you here, the same way I would if we were having this chat over a cup of tea. Everything in this video is general information. It is not personal financial advice, and your situation has details that a video can't account for. Before you make any decisions about selling your home or what to do with the proceeds, please talk to a licensed financial advisor or use Centrelink's free financial information service. The rules interact with your specific assets, your specific timing, and your specific plans in ways that matter enormously. What I can tell you is the single biggest lesson Margaret's story teaches. The pension rules aren't trying to trap you. They're just rules, and rules have edges. The people who come out of a home sale with their pension intact are almost always the ones who understood those edges before settlement, not after. Know your 3 numbers. Notify Centrelink on time. Get advice before you place the proceeds. That's it. That's the whole framework. If this has been useful, do me a favour and hit subscribe. I put out a new video every week, all of it aimed at helping Australians in and around retirement hold on to more of what they've worked for. And if you've been through a home sale and learnt something the hard way, drop it in the comments below. It might be exactly what someone else needs to read today.